So, and do you know what I discovered? Because I was in a federal regulatory body. Do you know what the median age of an employee of a federal regulatory body is? Median, okay? As many people are older than that as there are younger than that. Median age, take a guess. 57. Do you know what percentage of the federal regulatory workforce is fully eligible to retire, full benefits, including their ridiculous pension and everything else? It's like 60%. Okay? So where is the incentive to do other stuff? So, bit of a tangent. I'm a member of something called Bretton Woods. Is anyone here old enough to know what Bretton Woods is? All right. Okay. So for those who aren't old enough, Bretton Woods, right after World War II, it was a formalization of a desire to rebuild the global economy. Things like the IMF, the World Bank, the Marshall Plan, they all came from that. The idea behind Bretton Woods is that democratic capitalist systems should control the global economy. That's not how they would say it. That's how I say it. Okay? It's why the US dollar is the global reserve currency. That number, by the way, is trending down every year. It's like 57% right now. The issues that I'm bringing up are tough for everybody in this room. Every single one of you is worrying about some version of the things I'm going to talk about today. But the thing is, I want you guys to be successful because I want our nation to be successful. The entire global economy rested on your backs from 1945 until today. And do you know why? Because it was the easiest system to work with, had the best capital, it was the most reliable, it was the most trustworthy, right? All those things are mostly still true. But do you know what the Chinese have done for the last 5 years? They've built an entirely frictionless system. Every big industrial project globally that used to run through something, either in our industrial base or our financial base, is now predominantly running through theirs. And every place that's growing a middle class, it knows Chinese brands. They don't know Apple. They know Huawei. I want you guys to be successful because I still want the American banking system and our country to be the global leader that it has been my whole life. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on right now. There are a couple of big challenges. Number one is human capital. There is so much change that's been going on and so much change that's going to happen. If you think about everything you guys have gone through since 2008, triple that, and that's what the next 5 to 10 years are going to look like. And there are a couple of reasons behind that. Competition, tech, a bunch of other things. And when I say tech, by the way, I don't just mean the apps on people's phones. I mean the infrastructure you use to run your business. I mean it's how you recruit people. I mean it's how you pay your bills. I mean it's how you manage your equity. So number one is human capital. And the reason why is because with all this change happening, you have to systematize your ability to own that change and drive that change in your organizations. So if you listen to this morning, they did a great job of talking about what's the role the strategy plays. Part of the way of executing that strategy is making sure that you have the people that can do it. And you have the internal processes and muscle, if you will, to be able to turn around and say, oh my gosh, our core is about to get us a -2 on our camels. We need to get out of it as quickly as possible. And I'm going to tell you why that's going to happen. And you have to get used to changing things on a weekly, monthly basis. So here's the example I would give you in the Web3 space. All of these payments companies, Plaid, Stripe, you guys have heard about all of these. All these companies are 5 to 10 years old, took hundreds of millions of dollars to build, years and years to build all the technology. The technology has changed so much and advanced so much that when I left the agency, I bought myself a new laptop that actually worked and didn't weigh 8 pounds. And I called up a bunch of my friends in crypto and I said, okay, what tech should I really be looking at? And they told me a bunch of things. I said, okay, great. I unwrapped that laptop at 10 a.m. and by 4 p.m. that day, I managed to make my own cryptocurrency. That is how advanced the technology is right now. I'm not writing individual lines of code. I'm gluing things together. And then I click a button and it's live. Every single piece of technology in the banking system is going to evolve to that model over the next 5 years. And that's radically different than the kind of technology teams you guys have today. You're going to have technologists embedded directly in your business units. You're going to have accountants who are 45% accountant, 45% technologist, and 10% really good at something else. Hopefully giving presentations like this, or some communications. And it's a big challenge because the fight for that talent is getting harder and harder. So I'm a college professor. I've been a college professor for 20 years. And I teach either in business schools or engineering schools, depending on how I feel at any one moment. 8 years ago, I started teaching at Olin, at Washington University's business school, Master of Quantitative Finance. I taught how to use artificial intelligence to build better quantitative risk models. Half of my students were Americans, half of my students were not Americans. These are all graduate students, kind of the top 10 schools, let's say. my last semester teaching at WashU, I had no Americans and 100% Chinese. And I could have not accepted any of those kids and taken the entire second round, and they still would have been entirely Chinese. I would have had to go to the third or fourth level to get to un-American. And it's not that they're stupid. They're just not applying to go to grad school. And certainly not those kinds of schools. I just switched to Duke. So I teach in the engineering school there, and I'm building some new curriculum there. I just, about a week and a half ago, got to see my incoming class of 130 Masters of Computer Science students. 134 students, 126 of them are Chinese. So number one, we're not producing the students. Number two, they aren't applying for jobs in a lot of places. They want the fancy, they want to work for the tech companies, the fintechs, the cryptos, whatever, right? So building a culture that allows you to get those people is really important. Okay, I'm not going to harp on the people thing. You guys have a lot of work to do there, but that's going to be, to me, one of the three things that are going to dictate if you guys are going to be ready for what comes next.